I really got him. His answer to this next one was LMAO. What? Question mark. Every anniversary of any school shooting is proof that the forced indoctrination of socialism through LBJ's Great Society has been a colossal and deadly failure. Now understand, this guy has gone point by point through each one and had a smart-ass thing about how I'm retarded. Right. And he told me he knows that God doesn't exist. That's how well he knows God. Oh, yeah. But LBJ and the Great Society, what he says, he has no idea. The retarded millennial aliens have no idea what world we're living in. It's called LBJ's Great Society. Yeah. So then, after telling me that the government is where he gets his rights, because God doesn't exist, then he talks about the Constitution as a piece of paper written by a bunch of effing retards in the 18th century, must be the best form of government ever. Okay? Here's a guy that wants to misunderstand the opportunity that God provides to get out from underneath government, and he wants to claim government is where he gets his rights, and then damn government for being a stupid piece of paper.
Right. Yeah, that, like D'Ambrosio always says, they want it both ways.
They do.
They want to have their cake and eat it too.
Well, who's supposed to pay for this person to get not just a high school diploma, graduate, education, but now get college education? Somebody's got to pay for it. Right.
Well, look at the entitlement and mentality.
Right.
That it's just supposed to be there.
Oh, get this one.
And, I mean, money grows on trees. I mean, we're talking about children who are not taught the basics of economics. Mm-hmm. Not a lick of it, because
co-ownership is all they know.
Yeah, it's all coming out of somewhere that the ether. And and it does. And nobody has a clue as to what is supposed to, how it's supposed to actually work.
Yeah. Now I told you I was going to beat this one to death.
All right.
So here's his response to my clever comment about 5 is plenty if you're, or 750 is plenty if you're worth 5. Anyone who works a full-time work week deserves a living wage. Okay. No one is worth $5. And you're an actual retarded piece of shit for thinking slave labor is okay. Now, I, for the record, do not think that slave labor is okay. Just telling you.
Oh, I raised 3 kids. I put them to work. No, I'm serious.
That's not slave labor.
Well, let me tell you, when my folks were kids, they both grew up on farms. And a child was considered a net asset to the family farm by the time they're age 8. Age 8, for those of you who haven't gotten a good education. And here's the thing. Today's society, a kid is never a net asset to the family. Now, I'm fortunate. I finally told the boss goodbye and started my own business where I could put my kids to work. And by God, they did work. Right. And we made that business a success because it was a whole family effort. I made sure that the kids benefited from it too, but they weren't owed anything growing up in our home. When, by God, we needed to work extra hours and I needed to bring my kids to work, I did. Call that slave labor if you want.
Well, it's not, because it's part of a family. Family dynamic is completely different. That I was under the delusion back when my kids were little that you actually couldn't. You had to pay your kids minimum wage. You had to have the whole setup and pay their Social Security and blah, blah, blah.
California sucks, doesn't it?
I was indoctrinated, folks. I was. I mean, you look at me now. This is a big leap, and it's from self-education. But the thing is that the dictates and so forth have come down for so long, so hard, that we don't even so many people don't remember what it was like, and unless you're a buff for history or something like that, it's not happening. I mean, the History Channel doesn't even show history anymore.
No, these are 25 and 30-year-olds, And if you're just joining us, I'm Tom McCay here at 3D Politics. I've got David Van, SoonerPolitics.org, David Oldham, ConstitutionalGrounds.com. I'm Tom E. McCay on Twitter, and we're talking about these American millennial aliens that have somehow landed on Earth and tried to distribute socialism. When I explain to them that you're free to bargain for any wage, $5 or $7.50. You can bargain. I mean, they're damning the American government for being mean when it's American government that gives you a minimum wage.
Well,
I mean,
let's pick that apart for a minute.
Okay.
First of all, they have a problem with understanding that rights come from God. Mm-hmm. And the way I like to explain it is that rights are inalienable and they're inherent to us. Mm-hmm. That's what it means to be from mm-hmm. God. Mm-hmm. But that they emanate from us. They are contained within us. They are not something that governments can grant.
It can't even be given away.
Natural law is the term.
Natural law especially. And that means that your rights to property, your rights to make choices about yourself and the direction of your life and the upbringing mm-hmm. of your children, the raising of your children, and mm-hmm. all of that is natural to each one of us, yes. And we naturally fight for those things.
Yeah.
What government and media has done for so many years is that they have been manipulating that story, okay, mm-hmm. which was upon which our nation was founded, and now turned it into everything is open for a democratic vote and majority rules. Yeah. And if we don't like the rule, then you suck. And that's what you're seeing the kid express.
Right.
You suck, and the government sucks. And if it weren't for the piece of paper, then we'd have what we want because we're going to get it by hook or crook. Mm-hmm. And that's the way they think.
Yeah. Go ahead. Well, I'm going to say he lives in an echo chamber. You got a gamer who hangs out with gamers all the time, and they never get out and have a dialogue with people who maybe aren't like them, or, God forbid, are of another generation. You know, I love to talk to old folks. Young guys like me benefit greatly from the old folks, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, these guys, they benefit from me because I got gray hair, right?
Makes me look young.
Yeah. No, and it is important. And it's important for older folks to not just talk about the damn kids that keep walking down my lawn. You know, bring the kid over on the porch, give him some iced tea, and invest something in them. Because I tell you, we've got to get past this generational divide. It's starting to kick back up. It was really big back in the 60s and 70s when I was a young kid. And, you just didn't see people under 30 talking to people over 30. And, right. And we're getting back to that, that real problem.
It seems like I'm really laboring this, and I really am. Mm-hmm. And the reason I am is because part of the problem with capitalism versus socialism is it illustrated in her comment can be made in one little snippet of less than 140 characters, and she states all the co-ownership she wants and makes it sound snarky and sarcastic. Well, it takes me 14 points of well-written response to explain how capitalism really works. And so you really, to understand what we're up against to get this, here's the smartest among them. And every answer is, I'm a retard, I'm an effing idiot, I'm effing this and effing that.
Right.
And when I explain that you can argue for any amount of money you want to get paid, he says, no, you aren't, dummy. Employers, I'd love to hear your comment on this. Employers set wages. I can argue with my boss, he says, about a raise all I want. I can try to get a new job and tell that boss what I want to be paid. That doesn't matter because the employer decides starting wages. Effing idiot.
You know why? Because he's worthless. He's
He
expendable.
is worthless.
Well, obviously,
but
and the kid obviously doesn't understand markets,
But-
because nobody has control over wages.
But to your
It's
point,
all about markets.
To your point, he's willing to accept the government's version of a guaranteed limited ceiling. Like, I'll guarantee you so much, but because he doesn't want the right to go ahead and fight for what he might be able to get the unlimited.
Well, and this comes
of
back
freedom.
to the lack of risk taking and the inability and the insecurity. I mean, we've got a rash, an epidemic of depression. Which is all caused by anxiety. By the way,
we talked
for the
about
most
the
part.
fatalism contagion.
Yeah, and this whole idea that if I have to jump out and take a risk, or if I have to maybe go find a different job than the one I'm used to, that somehow this is going to stress me to the point that I'm going to have a breakdown. And welcome to life. Life is risky. I mean, hey, we live in a society that has removed most risk. You can go out and get a job. You can do work for yourself. You can do a lot of things. We're a prosperous society, especially now. We're prosperous to the point that it's hard to.
Okay, let me just knock this out of the water.
Yeah.
Tell this young boy
Yes.
here, we're going to give him a boat ticket to Venezuela, and he's going to try out every one of his theories for fixing things through government policy, and see how it's working in Venezuela or Cuba or any of these other places where all these bright ideas finally got strong enough to take over.
Have him stress over getting toilet paper.
So I'm suggesting that he can start his own business and pay anybody what he wants. He says, and he thinks he's real clever because he's got continuity in his arguments. Can't start a business if you're in debt. Thanks, capitalism. So that's how smart he is.
Well, and see, he's not taking responsibility for his own indebtedness.
Exactly.
The system.
The system that's the problem.
Right.
And you know what's really bad is that the system, if left to its own, without government intervention, would have kept prices down, that his indebtedness for college would have been minuscule, if any. Because you used to be able to easily work it off as you work.
Well, you didn't used to have to borrow your money from the government. But Obama changed that. You got to get your money from the government.
Okay.
I'm almost done.
Okay.
I'm almost done. Okay. And now, I said, as an American woman, you're free to demand 20% more than a man makes. Now, that's some pretty good bait for a progressive. And he says to me, got a source on that, retard? How do you respond to these idiots?
You don't. You don't.
I think that's what Josh Turley's talking about.
Yes,
at one point, you're like,
I'm going to see how young Oldham is. Finish the jingle. You deserve a break today.
Yeah, I can finish.
He can sing it.
You don't have to sing it.
I remember
So
it.
get up and get away.
I'm horrible at
To
work.
McDonald's!
McDonald's!
It was one of the biggest jingles in the 70s. And the thing that I don't like about it is the whole notion of you deserve it.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a problem. And it's been growing every generation, every decade. This idea of entitlement and what I deserve. Yeah. And listen, when your right requires my servitude, it ain't a right.
Nope.
Okay, because you just told us that slavery is not acceptable here. So, this is the problem.
And ultimately, that's the problem on every single one of those points. In order to get what they want, they have to take from other people.
Right.
And that's what they're demanding.
And they're so tolerant. He has a couple of parting shots to tell me how loving he is. Mm-hmm. What freedom, retard, he says. Also, did I mention to me that I am an effing retard? And then he said, die, boomer.
Yeah.
So they're so friendly and tolerant. I just love them so much.
No. And, yeah, it's endemic of
this is
everything
the problem.
that's wrong.
This is the
here.
problem with capitalism versus socialism. Socialism, you can say it on Twitter. But capitalism, you have to explain it in a document that lays out how this will work.
Well, and that's why I like to change the discussion from socialism and capitalism to tyranny versus liberty.
Yes.
Because you can't have socialism, you can't have free stuff without infringing on somebody else's liberty. Right. And you don't even have liberty at that point because you have the heavy hand of government actually on you. You may not care about that, but everybody else around you does.
So Tom,
I'm going to tie us back in.
Okay.
Hey, if you've been here or if you're just joining us, you're watching 3D Politics live on Monday nights at 7 p.m. I've got David Van, SoonerPolitics.org, David Oldham, ConstitutionalGrounds.com, and you can catch me on Twitter, Tom E. McCay. What were you going to say, David?
Well, I'm a blogger. I write, I do a lot of journalism, and I organize a lot of other journalists. The reason I don't do Twitter is because Twitter requires you to say everything you know about any topic in 280 characters. And for those people who can do that, they have Twitter. I simply cannot.
Yeah, my children told me, Dad, Twitter's perfect for you because you only get 140 characters.
They doubled it.
And did they double
it?
They
doubled it.
Well, it's
because of Trump.
It's a short amount of time to say the nastiest, meanest thing you can.
Well, see, the thing was, he was running out of characters, so he would jump to a new tweet.
Tweet.
I think he was blowing their algorithm because he was tweeting so much and getting so many likes and looks at all his tweets that he was blowing things up, and they wanted to tamp him down, so they made him bigger.
I love how they squeal and whine about how he should stop tweeting, and that tells you how effective it is.
Oh, absolutely,
Yes, absolutely.